Why do some people seem to think that they are the only ones who are moving forward when it comes to Jeet Kune Do? Hello, everyone. This is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Do Rebel. Welcome to the I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcast number 246. This is the one about Jeet Kune Do accumulation versus integration. As you're logging in, if you'd be kind enough to say where you're logging in from, hit the like button and feel free to continue doing so throughout the broadcast. If you're catching the simulcast over on the YouTube, please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell as well. If you enjoy my work and you'd like to support the program, please visit jkdrebel.com, click on the Rebel Gear link, and that's where you'll see stuff like this. The Keep Calm and Learn to Fight Ferociously Jeet Kune Do t-shirt, long sleeve, short sleeve, sweatshirt, hoodie, and also coffee mug. But of course, the best thing you can do is to share this video and spread the word about the I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcast. So I was seriously thinking of starting a new approach to the broadcast, wherein I would comment on what I could call breaking news. And so what I would do is comment on certain stories that appeared on Facebook in like the preceding week or so. So I've been thinking about that, but that is kind of what gave me the idea for today's broadcast. It's because of some things that I recently read. So I read something where they were talking about people who imitate Bruce Lee, about people who strike poses trying to look like Bruce Lee, and from what I was reading, I inferred that it was a ton of people doing this, and I'm not aware that there's a proliferation of people performing this way, right? And then the other one, many of you have seen this one, is people carrying on about Jeet Kune Do people who teach that flowing from system to system is what comprises Jeet Kune Do. So I asked for clarification on the Bruce Lee impersonator thing, because I know that after he passed away, in the Hong Kong Kung Fu world, there was a lot of imitators, but I'm not sure that there's a bunch of people asking to be taken seriously as martial artists, that there's like a lot of people, right? As for the flowing from system to system, so the way that came about is because a few months ago, Chris Kent was gracious enough to say that he had gone down an incorrect path, because in his book he had shown the idea of flowing from system to system, and that he had come to a realization that that was an inaccurate way of expressing it. It's more just, okay, I'm back. So as you guys might know, we have weird Miami weather. We're not in the path of Hurricane Ian, but and actually we don't have any rain. It's just real overcast. We don't have any rain, but in my area, funky weather gives you funky internet connections and what have you. So I think I just dropped completely out of Facebook for a few minutes there. Anyhow, let's get back to the story. So Chris Kent had said that he had gone down an inaccurate path by talking about flowing from system to system, and it more accurately described as flowing from tool to tool, right? Or maybe even technique to technique. So that came up a while ago, and it has resurfaced at least once more, maybe more than once. But my point is there anybody who thinks that it's only Chris Kent that may have had that such a realization, right? Or that or even that Chris's epiphany didn't affect anyone else, right? So that's what brings up the question of, do they think that it's just them that are moving forward? That if Chris can say, oh, you know what, I've changed my way of thinking about something, that there's nobody else but Chris Kent, right, in the Jeet Kune Do world, or let's say in the Insano influenced Jeet Kune Do world, that has had any kind of realizations, that has had any kind of epiphanies throughout their JKD career, right? So that was one question I had. I had some other questions. So didn't Bruce Lee himself add stuff to Wing Chun? And so he renamed what he was teaching, so to speak, as modified Wing Chun. And then when he went even further away, didn't even call it Wing Chun anymore, like notably boxing and fencing. And then on July 9th, 1967, the name Jeet Kune Do appears in his day timer or whatever you call it, right? It seems as if there are people who think, okay, so from that date forward, July 9th, 1967, everything stopped in terms of Bruce Lee's continued development. Because when he wrote that name, it was like the writing of the name indicated that he had reached his peak of perfection, his peak of development. So now it's no longer called the Jun Fan method. Because remember, back in 65, in a letter to James Lee, I think it was, he had talked about having his new Kung Fu system drawn up, right? And that's where Wing Chun, fencing, and boxing are listed. So my question is, in 67, did everything stop? The guy lived for what, 7 more years, right? 6 more years. Do your math, Dwight. Okay. So did everything stop? I think if you read enough of what Bruce Lee wrote, you will find out for yourself that continuous learning and development were of primary importance to him. So my JKD colleague, Andy Wilson, sent me 2 quotes from earlier versions of Towards Personal Liberation. But I was going to use them, but Andy's going to, he plans to do something with it. So I'm going to let him, do it, since it was him who called it to my attention. But there was a third quote that I saw that I thought was especially relevant to today's topic. And it is, Bruce Lee says, "Not that I care, but perhaps I wish to avoid making a thing out of a process." That's his own words, right? And he's talking about, describing Jeet Kune Do. "Not that I care, but perhaps I wish to avoid making a thing out of a process." So to deal specifically with the idea of JKD people constantly accumulating, because that's the accusation. What's also been expressed is that if they're spending so much time accumulating, if they're spending so much time flowing from system to system, right? When will they have time to actually learn and train in Jeet Kune Do? So I'm going to explain it one more time, and hope that these people will finally hear and understand. So it's never been about learning any art from the beginning to the end. I mean, that's something that doesn't exist anyhow, right? That you get to a point where, oh, I have learned such and such art, right? So it can't be that. It's also, however, never been in other arts and keeping that separate from your Jeet Kune Do practice. Both of those beliefs are inaccurate. Instead, it's about going deep into an art or arts, because it can be done with more than one. But if you have decided for yourself that going deep into a particular art will benefit you greatly, and then once you have deep dived as much and as long as you think you need to, as much as is necessary for you, then you come out of it with a deep enough understanding of where it now fits into your expression as a martial artist, which some people would call your Jeet Kune Do. I don't necessarily call it your Jeet Kune Do, but it's your expression as a martial artist. Now, what is it that drove you to do that deep dive into this art? It is Jeet Kune Do principles, right? It is the idea of becoming as proficient as you can in the area of fighting. So when you do that deep dive, anything that you come across in the art that you cannot make conform to Jeet Kune Do principles, then that stuff is not retained, right? That stuff is you get rid of that. Now, the cool thing about Jeet Kune Do principles is that they're based on efficiency and functionality. So it's pretty easy to find how to integrate something. So even if you're training in something which might not be particularly functional the way they do it, by running it through the Jeet Kune Do filter or laying the Jeet Kune Do template over it, you can find a way to functionalize it. Does that make sense? Right? So what has to be understood is that this approach is not at all what was displayed at seminars taught by many of the top-notch Jeet Kune Do instructors. And in my opinion, most of them didn't do that because that approach is not something that can be disseminated en masse, that can be put out to a lot of people all at the same time. This is where the Jeet Kune Do journey becomes an intensely personalized thing. What people gloss over is that Bruce Lee himself, as he so eloquently put it in the final version, which was called Liberate Yourself from Classical Karate, in the 6 years, so I talked about the letter to James Lee in 65, right? And then the publication of Liberate Yourself occurred in September of 71. So it seems to me that in the 6 years, he had evolved to the point where Jeet Kune Do for him was now beyond styles. Even the three that he had mentioned that were of major influence to him when he first thought in terms of having his own Kung Fu system drawn up. So I encourage you to go read page 123 of Bruce Lee, Artist of Life, because I probably can't convince you of anything. In Jeet Kune Do, you kind of sometimes have to go convince yourself, right? So I will leave it there for today. You guys let me know in the comments what you think. In the comments below, that's all I got to say about this video. If you like what you heard, rate, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Follow me on Twitter at Dwight Woods and on Instagram at Dwight D. Woods. And the Instagram hackers have started up again. So spread the word on this for me. If it's Instagram from _ Dwight D. Woods _ that's the hacked account. They fiddled around with the original account name, right? And like I told you before, Instagram is of no help in getting rid of this. So if it's _ Dwight D. Woods _ that's not me. And my apologies if you get swept up in the whole Instagram hack thing. Okay, so because of Hurricane Ian, I've had to push some training sessions back. And so James Bishop was gracious enough to agree to move his appearance on the Jeet Kune Do Dialogues from Friday to next Monday, which I think is October 3rd. So there will be no Jeet Kune Do Dialogues episode this Friday. So Terry Valor and Mark Black and Mick Tully can go to bed a little bit earlier than usual on a Friday night. But then on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern time, I'll be on with James Bishop, who has just recently completed Who Wrote the Tao. We're going to have a fantastic time discussing this book. All right. Okay. So today's an indigo day. All right. There you go. Favorite design. So I will see some of you. Well, we got almost a week. Geez, 5 days, right? So nothing on Friday. You guys have a great weekend where you are. We will do our best to stay safe and dry down here. And I'll see you. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next Monday. Until then, this is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Do Rebel, signing off. Hang on one sec. I think I just saw something there. Hey, Steve Juman, how are you guys doing in Tampa? Because you know, Miami was never really in any danger from Hurricane Ian, but the West Coast, so Sarasota, Fort Myers, Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater, that whole area is where, and maybe even Point South, like what's it called? Not Coral Springs, Cape Coral, right? Those kinds of areas. So Steve is checking in. So maybe he didn't hear me. So I'll check with him later on. All right. So that's it, guys. Talk soon. Have a good one. Take care.